Hosts at Fox News are criticizing a host at MSNBC over comments made about Florida.
In my view, there are 3 states yet you can't really run from if you're trying to win across America. You run from New York, you're too crazy, you're liberal. You run from California, you're too crazy, you're liberal, you're trying to make sure I can't get plastic straws. You run from Florida, it's all crystal meth and alligators, right? Like, I mean, that's what people think.
It's kind of a dumb thing for the Fox host to get worked up about because the MSNBC host wasn't actually criticizing Florida. He was merely commenting on the general national perception of Florida when he said that it was all, quote, meth and alligators.
Hey, man, you all right? Bro, you doing okay? Are you drunk? Are you drunk? All right, have a good night.
Now, I live outside of Florida, and I can confirm that that is a thing that people say when discussing Florida. It just is. That's the stereotype, and it's not wrong to consider those stereotypical perceptions when discussing whether or not the American people would reasonably want to elect the governor of Florida as their president.
Wow, crystal meth and alligators. I know that's why you went to Florida, Lisa.
Exactly, Kaylee. That is exactly why I moved to Florida, crystal meth and alligators. And that's why your family moved there over 170 years ago, right?
Yes.
But no, look, Florida is number 1 in domestic migration for a reason. It's because of the policies of Governor DeSantis, the work that he's done in the state. Hundreds of thousands of people are fleeing to the state. Florida is seeing a 50-year low in crime, as other cities and other states are seeing a surge in crime. That's why he, took to Chicago, New York City, and Philly to talk about that and highlight some of those contrasts as well. And you also look at Florida's number 1 economic freedom. How many businesses are moving down to Florida because it's a great place to do business. It's a great place to raise a family. So this guy clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. No crystal meth, although I do like the alligators.
The host also mentioned that someone from New York or California might have a similarly difficult time getting elected, albeit for different stereotypical reasons. Now, Florida has a reputation for sure. There are memes about just letting it sink into the ocean. Everyone knows you can just Google Florida man and be gifted a treasure trove of insanity that can only be found in Florida. And sure, its cities are fun. There are plenty of reasons to visit Orlando or Miami or Clearwater if you're a Scientologist, but let's be honest, the real Florida exists in the in-between areas. I live in a large red state with blue cities. The cities, for the most part, look and feel like a lot of other major American cities. It's when you step outside of the cities when you get a real feel for the place, the culture, the ideology, and the values. Now, if someone like Governor DeSantis is hoping to earn votes across a nation as vast and diverse as this one, it would make sense for him to at least be aware of and address Florida stereotypes because it's true. I wouldn't want to live in Florida, and I don't want Floridian values, whatever I perceive them to be instilled across the country. His job is to manage my perception if he wants my vote. The Fox host made some good points though. Yes, crime is down in Florida, and yes, lots of people are moving there. I actually almost moved there a long time ago. We were living in Connecticut and my mother hated the winters. She wanted to move south, so it came down to either Florida or Texas, and we went with the latter. But why are they moving? The weather is a big factor in people moving from north to south, especially as they get older. Cold weather is much more difficult to live in. In the south, you don't have to bundle up every time you have to run out to the store. You don't have to worry about snowstorms and the delays and perils that come with them. And you don't have to worry about your health suffering in the cold. Also, with more people working from home during and after COVID lockdowns, people have more freedom to live wherever they want to. They're no longer tethered to big, busy cities anymore. The dream work scenario, after all, is to do it from a laptop while you're sitting on a beach, right? People love beaches, and Florida has a lot of beaches. And of course, one of the primary reasons that people are moving to Florida is because of the low state taxes and the business-friendly government. The cost of living in Florida is relatively low compared to other states for this and several other reasons. But if the weather is a reason that people are moving to Florida, they should probably also be thinking about things like global warming and climate change. The hurricanes, for one, aren't getting worse. And as a northerner who moved to the Gulf Coast, let me tell you, hurricanes are no joke. Also, developers in Florida are draining swampland in order to make more of the state habitable, which will undoubtedly complicate matters pertaining to the environment and its ecosystem. Green spaces protect lands from intense flooding and overheating, for example. If you get rid of those, you're worse off for it. Unless, of course, you work in real estate, in which case you have the unique opportunity to profit off of the destruction of natural landscapes. Now, moving on, the crime stat that was quoted in the Fox segment, that crime in Florida is the lowest it's been in 50 years, is technically true, but it's not quite that simple. In 2021, Florida's total crime volume dropped 8.3% from the previous year, with violent crime dropping 4.3% and property crime dropping 10.7%. Additionally, the state reported 39,000 fewer violent and property crimes in 2021 compared to 2020. However, Florida's law enforcement agencies are currently in transition from one reporting methodology to another. While the new methodology is expected to be better overall in the long run, the transition period from the old to the new is creating blind spots, making year-over-year comparisons difficult at this time. Also, the report that's being referred to in the segment tracked monthly counts of the number of crimes known to law enforcement. But due to a hierarchy rule from the old methodology, the system only counted the most serious offense in an incident. So for instance, if there were 2 crimes committed within one incident, like maybe a burglary and a murder, only the murder was counted. Then there were some law enforcement agencies using the old methodology to report, some using the new, and some using both. Furthermore, comparing the Florida reports to national benchmarks is problematic as well, because since participation in the new methodology is relatively low nationwide, the FBI had to estimate crime rates in certain areas, leading to significant margins of error. Okay, so I'm a Democrat, but I go to Florida a lot. Honestly, I go to Florida more often than I ever want to because I happen to have a lot of family over there, all over Florida. Actually, the last place that I traveled to before the lockdown was Florida. There are a lot of great reasons to visit Florida, and there are a lot of reasons why it's not my personal favorite place. But ultimately, this isn't about whether or not Florida is the worst state in the union, although objectively speaking, it's really not. And to be fair, if you did an in-depth analysis of any other state, I'm sure that you would find things about it that weren't great. That said, there are a myriad of other reasons why you should not vote for Ron DeSantis as president. Those are the things that we should be focusing on, okay? That's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok.